The air was thick with formality. The band was silent and my face was burning, not from the sun, but from the heat of public shame. I was standing rigid in front of my unit, my superiors, and a crowd of visiting dignitaries. My heart was pounding so hard I was certain the entire parade ground could hear it. I had made a small, technical error in the maneuver, and my superior, Colonel Harrison, used it as a public execution. He didn't just correct me, he berated me. He stood right there, inches from my face, his voice ringing with contempt, telling me I lacked the discipline for leadership. He finished by saying, "Captain Mira, you have embarrassed this entire regiment." When he walked away, I didn't break, I didn't cry, but I felt the confidence I had spent 10 years building shatter into 1,000 tiny pieces. He thought he had destroyed me. He thought the humiliation would make me quit. He forgot that in this life, you have a choice. You can let shame define you, or you can let it forge you. I chose the forge, and exactly 1 year later, Harrison watched silently as the national inspectors placed a medal on my uniform for leading the most flawless tactical demonstration they had ever witnessed. That day, I learned the greatest revenge isn't retaliation, it's excellence. Hello, everyone. My name is Mira, and I'm 28 years old. If you've ever been in a position of authority and had a superior abuse their power just to make you feel small, if you've ever been publicly humiliated and forced to swallow that deep, acidic pill of injustice, then you understand the core of my story. It's about more than the military. It's about betrayal in leadership. It's about the soul-crushing realization that someone who is supposed to mentor you is actively trying to break you. For months, the memory of that parade day was a raw, throbbing wound. I was plagued by doubt, the sound of Harrison's voice a constant echo in my mind. But the pain wasn't a signal to retreat. It was a signal to fight back with absolute precision. If you've ever felt underestimated, disrespected, or found the will to turn professional humiliation into unparalleled success, then I need you to hit that like button, subscribe, and settle in. This is the story of how discipline became my ultimate weapon. So, let's begin. I joined the service, driven by duty and a deep sense of commitment. I was academically strong and physically resilient. My progression to captain felt earned. I genuinely loved my team, a talented, high-spirited unit specializing in rapid response and tactical logistics. My immediate superior was Colonel Robert Harrison. Harrison was a man defined by ego. He had served for decades, but his ambition was constantly fueled by the need for external validation. He was obsessed with appearances, protocol, and above all, control. Harrison saw my competence as a threat. I was younger, often had more innovative ideas, and crucially, I led with collaboration, not intimidation. He frequently used subtle tactics to undermine me, scheduling meetings when he knew I was on duty, omitting me from senior communications, or giving me impossible tasks and then criticizing the inevitable stress. He relied on the classic military environment, one where questioning a superior is next to impossible, to ensure his word was law. The absolute devastating injustice occurred during the annual divisional parade, a huge ceremony where generals and political figures were present. My unit was leading a sensitive demonstration. Due to a communication issue from logistics, an issue Harrison had failed to fix, one of my flank movements was slightly mistimed. A fractional 3-second delay. The performance was still 99% flawless, but Harrison seized on the error like a shark. He halted the entire parade. The music stopped. The thousands of spectators went silent. He stomped over to my position, his polished boots clicking ominously on the asphalt. He didn't speak quietly. He screamed, Captain Mira, you call that discipline? This is a national embarrassment. Your unit moves like a flock of disorganized pigeons. You are soft. You lack the assertiveness and precision required for this rank. You are a disgrace to your uniform. He delivered the public humiliation with theatrical cruelty, knowing I couldn't respond. I had to stand there, eyes forward, shoulders square, while the blood drained from my face. My jaw was locked so tight I thought my teeth would shatter. When he finished and walked away, the band resumed. But the moment was shattered. I felt the thousands of eyes watching me. I didn't cry then. I couldn't. The emotional pressure was so immense, I could only feel a cold, terrifying numbness. Later that day, the internal monologue began. He broke me in front of everyone. He used his rank as a weapon. He wants me to quit. He wants me to confirm his judgment that I am incompetent. That night, alone in my small, sparse quarters, the shame turned into a terrible, burning resolve. I looked at my reflection, the fatigue, the raw humiliation, and I made a vow. I will not quit. I will not seek retaliation. I will seek perfection. The immediate aftermath was rough. The Whisper network was brutal. Colleagues looked at me with pity or, worse, judgment. Harrison seemed energized, frequently stopping by my unit's quarters just to critique a misplaced folder or an imperfectly shined boot. He was actively waiting for me to fail. But every slight, every condescending look, every passive-aggressive memo was no longer a wound. It was fuel. My revenge strategy was the ultimate antithesis of Harrison's cruelty. Absolute, undeniable excellence. I stopped sleeping more than 5 hours a night. I didn't just study the tactical manuals, I memorized every clause of every protocol, the exact angle of the salute, the precise cadence of the marching step, the maximum acceptable deviation in formation. I wasn't doing this for Harrison. I was doing it for the version of myself that Harrison tried to murder on the parade ground. My focus shifted entirely to my unit. They had seen the injustice, and their morale was low. They felt responsible. I brought them together, not with anger, but with cold, calm conviction. What happened on parade day was a mistake, I told them, but we will not allow it to be a pattern. We will train until we are flawless. We will become a unit where the standard of perfection is not an ideal, it is the minimum requirement. We trained harder than any other unit on the base. Precision. We used lasers to measure the exact distance between boots in formation. Response. We timed our logistical drills with stopwatches, aiming for milliseconds of improvement. Knowledge. I ran mandatory weekly quizzes on protocols and tactical theory until every member of the unit knew the manuals better than the instructors. I demanded excellence, but I led with respect. I never screamed. I corrected with precise technical feedback. My authority was based on my own absolute competence, not rank. My unit didn't fear me. They respected the standard I set, and slowly they started to share my single-minded commitment. Harrison, seeing my dedication, just scoffed. He reported in my file that I was overcompensating and still lacked leadership maturity. He thought I was running myself ragged, chasing an impossible standard. He couldn't grasp that the impossible standard was my only way out. The news dropped exactly 1 year after the public humiliation. The National Inspectorate was conducting a surprise, full-scale evaluation of the regiment. This was a rare, high-stakes inspection that determined funding, national reputation, and career trajectories. Failure meant disaster. Harrison was terrified. His entire reputation was based on presenting an image of perfection, and a surprise inspection meant there was no time for frantic cleanup. He called me into his office, shaking. "Mira, listen. Your unit is dedicated, but they are high risk. I am assigning them to background duties. They will not participate in the field demonstration." He was trying to protect himself by sidelining the unit he considered too volatile, thereby denying me the chance to prove our worth. I stood firm. "Colonel, with respect, my unit is the most prepared unit in this regiment. Removing them now would be a greater operational risk. We are ready for any demonstration they require. We are flawless." Harrison hesitated, seeing the unwavering confidence in my posture. He didn't see arrogance, he saw terrifying certainty. Unable to provide a logical reason to bench the unit, and too afraid of the optics of making a snap change, he reluctantly agreed. The day of the inspection arrived. The atmosphere was charged. The inspectors, led by a stern, decorated general, were thorough and notoriously difficult to impress. My unit was scheduled for the main tactical demonstration and the final parade. I stepped onto the field. My heart was not pounding from fear this time. It was beating with a steady, relentless focus. The drill. I called the commands. The movements were instantaneous, synchronized, and executed with an inhuman level of precision. Every rifle angle, every turn, every halt was exactly where it should be. The sound of their boots hitting the ground was a single, unified clap, a testament to months of brutal, dedicated training. The precision. When the general walked the line, checking uniforms and equipment, he could find nothing, not a single smudge, not a thread out of place. Every answer to his technical questions was delivered with swift, clear, protocol-perfect clarity. Harrison watched from the viewing platform, standing stiffly next to the inspectors. I didn't look at him. I didn't need to. I could feel his gaze, shifting from skepticism to disbelief, then to dawning horror. He was watching the unit he dismissed as pigeons perform at an elite national standard. The climax came during the final parade maneuver. The unit performed a complex, rotating formation, the very maneuver where I had made the fractional mistake a year earlier. This time, it was geometry in motion, flawless, absolute. When the demonstration ended, the general didn't move for a long time. Then, he slowly, deliberately started to applaud. The other inspectors followed. The sound was deep, genuine, and thunderous. The inspectors concluded their evaluation within the week. The final report was unprecedented. My unit received the highest evaluation scores in the division's history, citing exemplary discipline and execution bordering on machine-like perfection. The awards ceremony was held 3 weeks later. It was highly publicized. I stood on the podium, my spine ramrod straight, my unit standing impeccably behind me. Colonel Harrison was forced to stand a few feet away, part of the receiving line, his face a tight mask of professional composure and raw, suppressed fury. The general pinned the National Service Medal for Excellence onto my uniform. As the cold metal touched the fabric, I felt the sharp, sudden release of all the pressure I had carried for a year. It wasn't just a decoration. It was validation. I turned to face the general, accepting his congratulatory handshake. Then I turned back to the viewing platform where Colonel Harrison was standing. Our eyes locked. He didn't speak. He couldn't. He saw the same woman he had broken a year ago. Only now she was untouchable, wrapped in the unimpeachable armor of national distinction. He knew that my success was a direct condemnation of his petty cruelty. I raised my right hand in a sharp, perfect military salute. But I didn't salute him. I saluted the version of myself who had refused to quit. I saluted the inner strength that had taken his public shame and systematically transmuted it into undeniable excellence. It was the ultimate silent victory. I didn't need to accuse him, report him, or yell. My rank was the same, but my authority had expanded tenfold, built on a foundation he could never hope to touch. The general and the entire viewing gallery saw the profound honor in that salute. Harrison saw the cold, clean finality of his professional defeat. I walked off the podium, my boots clicking with a purpose he could never comprehend. Humiliation had not destroyed a leader. It had forged a legend. Colonel Harrison's career didn't end that day, but his influence did. The general's report highlighted the unit's excellence, and by subtle implication, questioned the leadership that had previously failed to recognize or nurture such talent. Harrison was quietly sidelined, his reputation permanently tarnished by the stark contrast between his mediocre unit performance and the national honors achieved by my unit. I went on to receive further commendations. My promotion soon followed, not because of political maneuvering, but because the results were simply too loud to ignore. The most important lesson I learned wasn't about command structure. It was about internal control. When someone tries to humiliate you, they are betting that your ego will take over. They want you to retaliate with emotion, which is easy to dismiss. But when you respond with discipline and undeniable competence, you elevate the fight to a level they can't compete on. I realized that the wound Harrison inflicted wasn't a curse. It was a clear view of my own capability. He showed me the exact limits of my past effort, and I simply trained beyond them. My true revenge was the peace I found in knowing I was the best. The medal was just the external proof. If this story resonated with you, if you felt that deep satisfaction of watching professional excellence defeat pettiness and arrogance, please smash that like button and subscribe for more stories about turning setbacks into soaring successes. I want to hear from you. Tell me in the comments, what is the highest level of competence you have ever achieved just to prove someone wrong? Hit that notification bell to join our community. And always remember, discipline is the only weapon that can never be turned against you.